is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Well, all right. Welcome, everyone, to Real Kyper and Bourne, but it's no Kyper. It's Sam McKee. It's Justin Bourne. Welcome, Sammy.
Hello, Justin.
To this side of the glass. How's it feel?
Fine.
Yeah, I love that. I love what that forebodes for the show. So I'm rushing here. First off, I'll also say hello to Derek Brandeo. Brandeo, how you doing, pal? You good? We got Sis back there?
Yeah.
All right, we're rocking and rolling. Kyper he's not with us today, but he's going to call in, I think, at some point just to make sure we get his take, which I'm actually quite excited about. But I myself am a little flustered just getting here. My kid's school caught fire for real. So they're like home now.
Our pets' heads are falling off.
Yeah, so I got here like a minute ago. Running around a little bit. My article will be up on Sportsnet.ca in a moment on my thoughts from Game 2. But last night you and I were on Leafs Talk post-game. We chatted about how we felt about the second game. And we were pretty positive.
Yeah.
I thought the show was actually had a pretty positive tone. Not that like we think they're going to win the series necessarily, but about how they played. And I get here today, I sense a different tone from you from last night.
I feel exactly the same as I felt last night in terms of how well they played.
Okay.
And the fact that they lost that game and them not being able to convert chances and turn the puck over. But it just sucks that we're here because to not get that one when you play that good. Yeah. What does that do to a team psyche? What does that?
Good point.
You're at home. You play as well as they've played, maybe ever.
I mean, they dominated 5-0 minutes of that 6-0 game.
So I don't know what they're feeling today. Like maybe they're encouraged because they played so well, and that's
what the coach would say.
That's what I mean. Maybe he's telling them, "Hey guys, if you play like that again." But ultimately, they played that well and they didn't get a result. And now you're going on the road for 2 games where you're already in a hole 2-0. Like, I feel like this is a really tough time for Sheldon Keefe in terms of keeping these guys in it. Like, I know they've got veterans. I know they've been through it. But that is a massive gut punch last night that I am still feeling. I woke up today. I was feeling it.
Yeah.
Like,
and you mentioned the nice thing, too. You know, you're also worse.
Yes.
As a roster.
Significantly worse.
Yeah.
Because he's been your best left winger throughout the whole playoffs.
Yeah. It's actually funny how quickly he became so impactful. He was on the ice for multiple 6-on-5 game-tying goals when they were chasing down Tampa, and on the ice for every overtime winner. And
is that good?
Yeah. And last night they're down a goal, chasing for a full period, and they need one guy to make one play, and they don't have him. And the loss is not because Matthew Nyes isn't there, but
you could have put one in the net. You never know.
Certainly, or created something, or just done something different than more shifts for. I know Yarncroc didn't play a lot, but whoever it may be in his stead.
And,
so
in the space-time continuum, maybe he does score a tying goal if he doesn't get taken out of that game by Sam Bennett. I
mean, being the diehard Nyes fan that I am, I could very easily see that. So,
Can we do you want to do the Bennett thing? Looks like Kyper might be calling in here, so maybe we'll save the Bennett thing. But I didn't think he should have got suspended last night.
Okay.
And now with the result of the play, and rewatching the plays that he did over and over, the fact that he's a repeat offender, it is a little bit wild he didn't get maybe one.
Yeah, so I am on the internet like you.
Yes.
And I can see the discourse.
Yes.
And everyone wants blood.
I'm seeing the amount of I put out, the tweet about having, the questions that we're going to take at the end of the show, and people are unhinged. Like, maybe they should put Simmons in there to beat the crap out of Bennett.
Yeah, and it's like, stop it.
I'm sure Bennett's going to take that fight. Oh, boy.
Oh, we got our boy.
Nick in Boston calling in here?
Nick in Boston. Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Sammy, we're losing our boy a bit, Kyper. He was pretty confident yesterday. I don't hear the same tone today, I'll be honest.
Well, first of all, I feel like I'm a parent that's left town for the weekend and calling my kids to see if everything's okay at home. So, listen, is the oven off? Is it off?
We're good, Dad.
Okay,
we're fine.
Lock the door.
Theo, get up off the floor, stop playing with the dog, and go to school.
Hey, and Theo's graduating this weekend.
Oh my
That's
God.
crazy.
Oh,
what a
man.
career wraparound that
that's
is for you.
crazy.
Yeah.
The kid you just listened to me give instructions to go to school when he was in grade 2 or grade 3 is graduating this weekend. So
Wow.
all good on my part as far as the Leaf fans. Yes, a little concerned after last night.
Yeah, no, it's as I mentioned, like there's a lot of good play from the Leafs. They controlled long stretches. They didn't get the result last night. What are you chalking it up to? What do you see as the major issues? We'd love to just get your overview, Kyper, on last night's game.
JB, a minute and 6 seconds. How's that?
Yeah.
How's that to sum up why they're down 2-0? A minute and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was a horrific 1 minute and 6 seconds. You're down 2-0 because you didn't start the second period and you took your foot off the gas pedal for a minute and 6 seconds. And that is in the nutshell. You guys want to focus on the 50 minutes or the 55 that look great? Great, do it. But if you look at the 1 minute and 6 seconds, that's the difference during this time of year. One or two mistakes can come back and haunt you. If the Lightning want to go back and kick themselves in the first round against the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're going to kick themselves on blowing a 4-1 lead in Game 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Leafs now have to go to Florida and make sure they don't kick themselves next week to look at 1 minute and 6 seconds. And for me, go back and play that minute and 6 seconds. It was a disaster from puck drop. From McCabe to Nylander to giving Barkov the opportunity to go in like that. And then Sheldon pulls off the forwards. And for whatever reason, McCabe is horrific on 19 seconds. He wants to leave him and Brody out there. And then all that did was just compound the remaining 47 seconds where, again, horrible decisions. When the puck's 200 feet away from Bobrovsky and it comes right back in your net, it was a disaster from Matthews' half-assed forecheck where it goes D to D to Ekblad. Bunting goes in there, does a drive-by, and then McCabe comes in to challenge Barkov, and he gets a clean out. It was a disaster, minute and 6 seconds, and that's why they're down 2-0 after last night.
Yeah. So, Kyper, I would be remiss if I didn't get your take on the Bennett situation. Leaf fans are not pleased, my friend.
Which one?
The one behind the net with Nyes that's now probably driven Nyes out of the series with a concussion, and then the following play where he cross-checks Bunting in the neck, follows him up with one in the lower back. People are clamoring for a suspension. What are your thoughts on it?
You got 5K for that one.
Yeah, you got 5K.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate Sheldon trying to, work the league with the comparison to the Austin Matthews in the outdoor game. The one that he needed to compare it to was Lafferty on Colton a week ago. That's the same cross-check. And Sam Lafferty, we never thought for a minute Sam Lafferty was going to get suspended off of that, right?
No.
But people are more mad about the behind the net wrangle.
Yeah, the Bennett one is what's got people pissed off.
Yeah, listen, you can't suspend on just the outcome. And he's concussed. He's out. We know that. And that's why people are clamoring. If he would have gotten up, the most you would have been screaming about is a missed penalty. And it was a rough, absolutely all day long. Needed to be a 2-minute penalty.
Yeah.
But the only reason you're talking about a suspension is because, the outcome was bad for Nyes and the Toronto Maple Leafs. If you go watch it, Bennett's got the puck and he wants to go around the net. And it's actually Nyes who goes and physically confronts him. Nyes goes and tries to rub him off. And then from then on, all you have is a 10-year veteran, a man against against a guy that's just out of college that isn't used to that type of physicality. And Bennett ate him up. We know Bennett ate him up, and he took an extra shot at him, and that's it at the end of the day. That I'm telling you, if he gets up, if Nyes gets up, no one's screaming for a suspension on that play.
But he didn't, Kyper, and he left the game and he was out for the whole game. And this is Bennett, who has been suspended 3 times in his NHL career, plus in the playoffs. Like,
okay,
I think people have a right to be pissed off about it.
They're pissed off because he's concussed, Sammy.
Yeah, I know,
The play doesn't warrant the play doesn't warrant a suspension.
But
he's concussed. Like I said, if he stays in the game, no one's screaming for a suspension.
Yeah.
I agree, Kyper. We were just getting into that a little bit. It's a bad play. It's a rough. It's excessive. I think he's a dirty player at times, but not sure you can suspend for that play. The minute 6 gets away from him, and they scored 2 goals, just 2 goals for the 4th straight game. Bobrovsky is now the best goalie in the playoffs in terms of goals saved above expected. You think it's just a hot goalie? Or are they not getting to him? What are you seeing for their inability to score enough?
I don't see anywhere near the traffic that we saw against Vasilevsky and the ability to stay there and cause havoc. We're all in agreement that this series there's more room out there, right?
For sure.
Justin, you talked about that from game 1, that there's a lot more room out there, which means that there's gaps, there's space. And right now, Bobrovsky has a ton of space to see the puck. You got to start getting into his face. You got to start bothering him. Don't knock him. Just bump him. Do whatever you can. But this is the guy that's hurting you right now. We talked about Tkachuk in the first game. He was quieter, but he still had enough room to make a world-class pass to who scored the game-winning goal there?
Forsling, was it?
Yeah, Forsling.
Forsling. Okay, that was a world-class pass right through a seam for the game-winning goal. No, he didn't have the physicality that he had in game 1, but right now, it's not Tkachuk, it's not Bennett, it's Bobrovsky. That's your biggest issue now going into Florida. And you got to solve him. You got to hope that the trend that he's had in his career, where he cannot sustain longevity, happens as early as Sunday.
For sure. All right, well, Kip, listen, I know you're down there in Boston. You got any fadeaway thoughts for us? Or are you good to go?
How are we feeling about Game 3 in 2 weeks?
Listen, just look at the road records.
Yeah.
Look at New Jersey losing 2 at home and going into Madison Square Garden and winning. Like, this is a crazy playoff, man. Anybody that just writes off the Leafs right now, hey, maybe it will happen. But judging by what I've seen so far in these playoffs, man, some things might be still up for grabs.
Love it. Yeah. All right, pal. Well, you enjoy yourself down there. Congrats on your son graduating. Great accomplishment. We look forward to chatting with you on Monday, man.
See you, Kippy.
Enjoy the rest of the show, everybody.
All right. Thanks, pal. Sounds good. Nick Kypreos, ladies and gentlemen.
Nick in Boston.
Nick in New
England.
I was just about before we had Kip there, you and I were about to have the chat. I do agree. And that I don't think you can suspend for the attempted head slam on the ice, which sounds ridiculous. It's just, they're tangled. It's rough and violent, whatever. I don't know that it's like a slew foot level of violence or.
You're just, the thing that pisses me off, and like I said last night, I guess the thing that's changed, and Kyper is right, is that he's hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they played the results a little bit with the Bunting one as well, right?
That
Chernak was hurt.
Yeah.
And Bunting had no history. What Bunting did was worse than what Sam Bennett did.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and be that Johnny Leaf fan and say it's in the same park.
Right.
But I do think giving the benefit of the doubt to a guy who doesn't, I wouldn't say necessarily
has
deserves
not earned it. Yeah.
He doesn't necessarily earn, and you compile the fact that he cross-checks a guy in the back of the neck, buries him while he's lying on the ground. Like, a combination of those both.
Yeah.
There's an argument to me, and I'm siding with my Leaf fan brethren here, which I don't always do, as you know.
Yeah.
I think he did deserve a game.
I am okay with the Marchand suspension, which is I call the cumulative a-hole penalty, which is you've done enough things.
A lifetime achievement.
Yeah. But now here's a reply you're not going to like, I don't think, which is, to me, this feels like Leafs fans feel robbed by the result.
There is no question you are right.
And are upset today and want some blood. They want to blame something. They want to pin it on a moment. They want to find whatever. If you get that one game for Bennett, that game still lost last night. It's still 2-0. It stinks, but it does feel.
I just want to know what's considered targeting the head.
Yeah, like that's not targeting the head for you, Brandon?
Yeah, like where's the line? like can it not move for just a week?
He tossed his upper body, which is attached to his head, to the ice, which is apparently not targeting enough. But
it's the number one thing people are asking me about.
We should get into it with Keefe. We should listen to the Bennett stuff that he has.
There's multiple clips on it. So Brandeo, if we could start with Keefe on the Bennett plays and then follow it up with Maurice on the bunting and Nyes play as well. If we could just go back to back with those, and then we'll come out from that.
In terms of the hit, I'm not going to comment on that. The league will look at that. I'm sure the cross check on bunting is eerily similar to the one that we saw with Austin last year in the outdoor game. We know how that one worked out. So, we'll just see. The league will look at all these kind of things.
I didn't see the outdoor game. I know that will shock you that you wouldn't all be focused on the Leafs games.
Oh.
Probably had a pre-scout for those pesky Florida Panthers. So I can't comment on that. Everybody seemed to survive that, the tangle up behind the net. I think we've been on the other side of the ledger enough.
Oh, I didn't like any of that. That made me angry. I didn't like any of the Maurice stuff there. The Toronto jab, the pesky Florida Panthers comments, that everyone survived the tangle up just fine, which they did not. A serious injury to a young man's brain. And the last part in particular, which I think we've been on the other side of the ledger enough.
I don't get that.
I think we've been on the other side of the ledger.
Is it just that they're getting more penalties called?
Yes.
That's what he means?
Yeah, he means that they have had calls go against them where he thinks they shouldn't. We got the 5-1 clip or whatever it is.
All right, you know what? I'm there. I hate his guts.
All right, 2 games.
Yeah,
Who had 2 games?
I hate his guts.
I do too.
That's
just right now, by the way. I know he's a lovely guy, I'm told.
He's a spectacular dude, and sure, he coached the Leafs. He was great, and I loved you in years past.
Ready to hit him.
Right now,
yeah,
not a fan of the man.
Not a fan. I think my biggest complaint, we're not the ref show, and so we won't do it for too long.
No,
but my biggest complaint is penalties are 3-0 for the Leafs.
Yeah.
The score is 2-1 for the Leafs. So the refs
stopped.
Will not.
They stopped.
Call penalties as they happen.
There was at least 4 to 5 infractions in between that time.
And they're like, we can't be was it Ralphie, I guess, on the radio made some comment like, Florida's not gonna get called for anything that doesn't involve an axe, was Jim's line.
God, Ralphie.
Ledger.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the reffing game management thing. It's a real sticking point for a lot of people, and I don't think it's the time or place to necessarily discuss that.
Yeah,
but it is frustrating when the whistles go away.
Yeah,
and I will say they missed a few on the Leafs too after that moment. I thought the Leafs could have gotten out of that game with more than one penalty as well.
Yeah,
but they got to have to rise above it. I think the bigger question here is Sergei Bobrovsky, who have you had the graph sent to you yet?
You sent it, yeah.
He has had his best 2-game stretch in any point of any season with the Florida Panthers these last 2 games.
Oh, I haven't seen that graph.
With goals above expected.
Oh, I've just seen the goals above expected.
Saves above expected,
right,
I should say.
So, goals saved above expected.
It's been his best 2-game stretch of his Florida Panthers career.
Awesome.
That's
awesome. So last night, we did, I shouldn't reference it 1,000 times, but we did do Leafs talk. And the first thing that I talked about, my takeaway from last night, which you can read my article on, which should be up right now, is the idea that the Leafs had 2 rebound chances last night. Just 2, and, out of their 25 slot shots. And Florida has some butchers, as you like to say.
Absolute
like
butchers.
Gudis, butcher. What's his name? Stahl's a butcher. Ekblad, butcher.
Yeah.
So standing in front of their net's not as fun as standing in against Perbix and Cole and whoever else they had. I forget that series.
Yeah.
But not
Seems
as
like it honestly feels like a lifetime ago.
I know, it's a different world.
Yeah.
So it's not as fun to be there, and now they need to be there. I have felt that the Leafs have been very happy to play this sort of trade opportunities. The Leafs had 8 odd man rushes to Florida's 2 last night. It's going to come down to now you have to treat Bobrovsky like you thought he was Vasilevsky. Screens, rebounds, fall on him. The play has to all happen directly in front of him because he's playing too well right now.
Yeah, I still feel like they are filtering it a lot from the point, but like Kyper alluded to there, and like you've said, they really are doing a great job of clearing the front of the net.
Yeah, it's one and done.
And Maurice clearly would have scouted that series in his 10 minutes between series that they got.
Mm-hmm.
He would have been looking at, hey, we can't let this happen to us. We have to let our goalie see it, and they're doing a great job of it. And frankly, in the playoffs, they're getting away with murder in front of the net, which is what happens. You're cross-checking, you're bodying people, you're slamming people's heads into the ice without any suspensions or whatever. So they're getting away with murder, and they know the line. And frankly, when you have a league where there's the management or the game management or whatever, once you get a few penalties in a row, your ability to clear the front of the net.
You say it as a coach.
Yeah,
as a coach, you go in the room, you're like, listen, we got a little bit of leeway. They've called 4 on us here.
We're not getting 5 in a row called on us. So go out there and clear the front of the net.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use your stick. Don't be afraid to knock some guys down. Like, that's part of it. And that's playoff hockey. I understand it. So we talked about it, but God, you just got to bear down and score a couple of those chances last night.
Well,
that's really what it comes down to. You're paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
And like, you can talk about how good he was, but your guys who make $40 million combined, your big 4, the whole thing that this is built around, have to be able to convert some of their grade A's that they had last
It's
night.
actually really funny because we spend a lot of time being like, you got to defend and be in your position and structure and whatever. Offense, you can't really control offense. Great players do great things. It's sort of, at some point, you have to have your feet held to the fire when you make $11 million, $10 million, and you get grade A chances and you don't score. And for a lot of players, you go, look, I'm getting these chances. They'll generally go in for me. I'm pretty good at that. Well, they need to go in now, and Tavares is probably who we're both talking about.
Yeah.
He gets that pass from below the goal line from Willie.
Yes.
Piece of pad, crossbar and out, and it's this close, and he gets a breakaway, and it's this close, and we need one there.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you can talk about how close it is and how you're getting chances, but you are elite in front of the net, and you need to show it in a big game like that. And it's amazing how different the conversation would be.
Yeah.
Right? One of those goes in, 2 of those goes in, they win the game. You're talking about, like, that's why it's such a cruel sport in the playoffs. It's just on a knife's edge.
It is. And so one of the things that I mentioned in my article today was just like, we talk about how the Leafs put themselves in a position in round 1 to get lucky, air quotes. You do the things that help you get lucky, which is you don't make big mistakes and give them other team glaring chances, which keeps you in close games.
Which they've exclusively done in this series.
Right. That's right. Made those big mistakes. You get in front and you tip pucks and you screen the goalie and hope you get lucky and he doesn't see one or it goes off your leg or whatever. Did that well in the first series. You put yourself in a position, people call it creating luck or whatever, and there is luck involved. But you put yourself in a position to be lucky enough, you get lucky sometimes. And the Leafs have not put themselves in a position to get lucky because they've made the glaring mistakes. The turnovers, not a huge problem. But against a team like this, they're going to burn you.
Yeah, they have some really skilled players.
They have
just sneaky good.
For Heggie getting behind Liljegren last night again, like he gets behind you.
That's what, and he talked about that, Keefe, when they gave him a breakaway.
One guy.
Yeah. And they did it again.
Yeah.
So
the Florida Panthers lead the playoffs in goals within 5 seconds of a turnover. 2 of them qualified last night, so they now have 9 goals within 5 seconds of a turnover. Next best is Vegas, Toronto with 5. Toronto has 2. So they're a quick strike team, and so
how many does Florida have?
9.
Oh my God!
I know they've only played 8 games. No, I guess 9 games.
That's remarkable.
It is. So. This is Kyper talked about the minute and 6 seconds at the start of the second period, and you have that lull. And to me, they have the lull because they played so well in the first that they're like, we're up 2-1. we got them now. Like, we're humming. And they were.
They were.
And so let's listen to Sheldon Keefe talk about how they came out to start that second period at the very first clip there, Brando.
Disappointing and baffling.
Disappointing, baffling, frankly. We didn't mean to make those mistakes one time in the last series.
Not once.
Ah,
I know, you did, but you got bailed out.
yeah, you got bailed out, and I don't know, because it's so hard to sit here and say two of your best guys on your team turning the puck over in the sweet spot is coaching. It'd be a really tough thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what is it with the starts to periods like that sometimes? It seems, does that happen to every team? We just watch the Leafs every night? Is it, but it just feels like it happens so often.
Yeah.
Like, is it a motivation thing? Is it like, what are you saying to them? Like,
people are sick of me saying this when it can be easy. And I just feel like that would be an opportunity where you're rolling. And
Yeah.
no, we got him now. You know, like, we're at home. We're going to win the second game 7-2 like we did last round.
Yeah.
And just took the pedal off, or, foot off the pedal a little bit. Nylander gets stripped, who, by the way, we can talk about his game. I thought he was tremendous outside of that moment.
Yeah.
And, Marner, instead of skating it out of the zone, drop pass in his own
Which
end.
he does all the time so effectively.
Yeah. Put Matthews in a tough spot. Matthews, instead of just trying to do something safe with it, try to make a cute chip. And
It's a weird play that he made. Just
Yeah.
shot it right into his gut, and
Yeah.
it goes back the other way. So if I were going to ask you to, let's just say, power rank the problems here,
Mhm.
going down 2-0, going to Florida, because I think it's been pretty clear that the Leafs have been the better team through both of these games. I think they
Yeah.
obviously, Florida was better in the first game, but last night, there's no question. What do you think, what's the first thing that worries you other than being down 2-0? I guess that's maybe it.
No, the first thing that worries me is the goalie duel,
Mm-hmm.
which is not just that Bobrovsky's playing really well, but Samsonov's making a lot of saves. But if every game there's one that makes you go, ugh, it's really tough to win.
Yeah.
And so he has proven to be an ugh guy once in a while here in the postseason. And I just am worried that the Leafs can play great, but if he gives them the every night, it's trouble.
I do hate the goalie conversation because I feel
Helpless?
I feel like it's that, and I feel like it is a little bit of low-hanging fruit
It is.
for sports fans and hockey fans in general to be like,
Stop the puck, goalie.
blame the goalie.
Yeah.
And he screened on that second one a little bit, and it's a bit of a
The
flutter,
Barkov one?
it's a bit of a flutter puck, drops a bit on him, but it's just
I
it's,
understand, but I'm just not.
it's
Stop it.
got to be saved.
Yeah.
He has let, what did I say that he's let in so far in 8 games? The 26?
26 goals, yeah.
He's,
But I don't fault him for the cross ice Forsling goal.
No, I don't. But he's
Oh, and the other one, the behind the net Tavares fall, Liljegren's bad reverse, yada yada.
still has to be better.
Yeah.
And it's pretty clear here that last series he was playing against a goalie who there's some quotes coming out that saying he wasn't 100%. He's fighting it. He's played a lot of hockey. He was the better goalie in the last series, but it wasn't hard to be the best goalie in that other series because
No.
Vasilevsky killed the Lightning. He was terrible.
Do you think Samsonov cares that Bobrovsky's playing well?
Why don't we hear the clip from Samsonov on what he thinks about Sergei Bobrovsky?
Oh,
Okay.
we don't have it. We don't have it,
have it?
apparently. But I will tell you that the clip from Samsonov is very short, and he says, I don't give a F word.
Yeah.
I don't care. He's doing his work. I'm doing mine. Is essentially the whole quote. And I love that answer.
I'm just digging up the quote here as I have it on my computer. I don't know where that went. Anyways.
Do you not love that answer, though, from him? Just being like, don't care. Don't care at all.
Trust tree time.
Let's have it.
I liked it last night. The more I think about it, I'm just putting it in for Derek to play it here.
Okay.
Because I think it's good just to hear the tone of voice. It's in shows, Derek. If you want to play it there, it should show up now. He didn't love it.
Why?
Because you should give a F.
I don't know.
You should give an F. And you should elevate your game. You have to elevate your game. You're the goalie. That's the one thing you can control is being better than the other goalie. And, you should give an F about how he's playing.
I don't give a
Yeah, there it is. give it to us again.
I don't give a
Yeah. Okay.
And Mark Masters followed up by being like, why not?
I know.
And he
What
said-
an awful line.
And he
they
said,
forced.
he has his work, I have my work.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I don't think it's
I'm doing my work. He's doing his work.
I don't think it's Samsonov's job to be like, it's pretty incredible. He's doing great. Look, you know, the old Tim Thomas to Luongo. It's not my job to pump his tires. Like, I'm fine with Samsonov being, I'm going to stay in my lane.
Yeah, I guess. But I do think that he should care.
Yeah, no, it's like playing match play. And it's like, you know, do you care that the other golfer's playing great? No, you should.
Yeah, you probably
You're
should.
going to have to adjust your game a bit here.
You might have to, make one or two putts.
Yeah.
So I do have worries about the goaltending. So if I'm going to power rank that, I don't want to say it's 1, but it's heading towards 1.
Yeah.
I think the lack of ability to finish on Bobrovsky and the not putting in the chances would be pretty high on the list too.
So that's my net front and scoring is 2 on my list,
Yeah.
which is tied to this, obviously.
Yeah.
Which is just they haven't
done
lived in that area the same way. The last game they won against Tampa, they had 5 scoring chances off rebounds. You know, they haven't had that in this series yet against Florida. So,
And I think one that is kind of maybe not going untalked about, everything's talked about closely here, but just the defensive depth is
also on my
a
list.
big worry to me.
Lilligren and Gio as a pair,
Bad.
struggle fish.
They're bad.
Yeah.
And you put Hall with Gio and it's been bad. And you're going to put in Gustafsson into this series against a really high-flying offensive team who's really good on the forecheck. Ugh.
Well, that's the thing. You're up 1 goal. Do you want to put Gio or Gustafsson over the boards? It's obviously Gio in that situation.
Yeah, they have a lot of like okay guys outside of Morgan Riley. And I know not every team has 6 really good defensemen. And in fact, no team has 6 really good defensemen. But I do feel...
Especially Florida.
Yeah. But I do feel like it's really sort of manifesting itself here in a big concern with, Brody and McCabe not playing up to their usual standard is a huge issue for the Leafs. The Leafs need those guys to be really good for them to win this series or go further or want to win a cup.
Yeah.
You're going to need your top shutdown pair to look like it. I thought they were better last night, I guess, but McCabe makes the error like Kyper said, and he's supposed to be...
Yeah.
Shen and Riley have been great. There's nothing you can say about them. They've done what you need them to do. They've been good, but man, the defensive warts have been worrying me.
Yeah, I would say the biggest one. So, Lilligren going back on pucks, when you see a forechecker within a stick length of him and you're going back on pucks, I feel like as the viewer, I can be like, this puck's about to get stopped. And you know what I mean by stopped? Like just not moved off the boards or moved across.
Yeah.
They're going to be in a puck battle because he's panicking with the pressure behind him and not able to make a play with it. And so that's a big problem because now anything in his corner feels like it's a Florida possession.
Yeah. And they really killed him on the forecheck last night.
Yeah.
And one of their goals comes straight off of that. And I don't really know what he's going to do in that play. Like he gets buried, puck comes off his stick. I guess make a quicker decision.
Gio is on the board side. If he just wants a little chip up the boards and he reverses it behind your own net, which already a dangerous play coaches tell you not to make. And Tavares blows a shoe and then Gio's caught out of position because who would have anticipated that? Yeah. It's just a comedy of errors. Worst case scenario, like in all regards. And Samsonov, the whole thing could not have gone worse.
That was a great pass.
It's a great pass.
It's a great pass.
They executed on it. They took advantage of an opportunity. And that you can say that for Florida is they took advantage of their chances last night.
So looking ahead to, do you want to hear from Keefe today?
Yes.
Talked about Giordano. He did a little Zoom today. Nice little throwback to COVID times, which I really loved. Him doing a Zoom meeting. So if we get Keefe on Giordano.
Obviously, the Giordano and Hall pairing was one that didn't play, to the level that it established itself both in last season's playoffs and in the regular season. So we changed the chemistry up there a little bit and feel like we had some good shifts and good results in game 1. Those weren't the same in game 2. Again, with each individual player, you look at their game, you look at a lot of things that are happening around them as well. But, it's with all our players and certainly being down 2 in a series, I think, we'll look at everything, we'll discuss everything. And we do have time here for rest and recovery and practice and all the things that normally you're not afforded in a playoff series. So, we'll look at some things there and see how that impacts Gio and the rest of our group.
He did mention Gio at the end there on his own.
Sounds like 11-7 to me.
Well, yeah, I think that's the right spot to have that conversation. Nyes is out, so you don't have to sit anyone. Lafferty, I thought, was useful.
Yeah.
Good forecheck,
Yeah.
contributed to the first goal. So I don't think Aston Reese goes in. I think it's Hall's going in. Hall's dressing next game.
For sure.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. So it's just a matter of if Liljegren comes out. There's a world to me where Liljegren comes out, Hall and Gustafsson go in, and see if you're behind chasing the game, you see a lot more Gustafsson protecting a lead. You see a lot more Gio, and then you're going to see a lot of Matthews and Marner and different, especially on the road where they can't match you. You love being able to say, okay, Marner's getting a shift with Kampf and Kerfoot or something.
Which happened with 2 minutes left in the game last night, which I didn't.
People didn't like it, but I thought the fourth line was so good for them last night that I was fine with giving everyone a breather. And
the Geo thing, I can understand from their perspective. And in a vacuum and us sitting here on the radio, it's so easy to be like, take Geo out.
I know.
It's like he's been bad. Like
Yeah.
we can all sit here and have a real conversation about how his speed,
Could not respect the man anymore.
his feet, no good. His gap control is struggling to break the puck out. He's icing it 3 times a game. It hasn't been good.
Yeah.
But on the team side of this, where you're with the guys every day, what he's meant to this team, what he means to the roster, what he means to
Leader,
Keith,
does the right things.
I would like him to come out of the lineup. I love the guy, but he's just not gonna.
But you know what? For him, the Leafs play 2 games in the next 7 days.
Yeah, which is wild.
I know. They play in 3 days, then 3 days, then they'll have a game or day off, and then 2 days. So you're looking at the next week, they're going to play twice. It's going to help him. It's going to help older guys like Tavares and O'Reilly. Like I don't think anyone matters on Florida who's old. Eric Stahl, whatever.
Yeah, he plays 4 minutes tonight.
Yeah, Mark Stahl, sure, is he old now? Whatever. Maybe it helps him a bit. But
I think if you're looking, and I am searching and digging for every positive possible going into a series where you're down 2-0 going on the road, I think the day off here actually really could work in favor of the Leafs for some of the reasons you just put out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it gives a couple days for the narrative to change.
Yep.
For, like, we talk about how the Leafs perform better when they're in trouble, when they have had a little whack on the wrist.
Yes.
And they're going to be dogged for 2 days here, full
Mhm.
days of them hearing about how, their second round curse is here now. And I think it gives them a chance to kind of regroup, have a day off, like he was saying today, get down there, practice. Actually, I bet you they don't go until Saturday evening.
Yeah,
They
I don't
probably
know.
practice here tomorrow morning, fly out, and then have the game Sunday. I doubt they're going down early today, but
I don't think you're looking to give the boys an extra day on the beach this time.
correct.
Yeah.
I also think that it gives a little bit of a chance for this unbelievable Cats momentum to kind of peter out a little bit,
Yeah.
where they've been on the road, they're playing every other night. They're in these really high intensity games where it's just like it's been do or die for them for
Yeah.
how long now? Like
Yeah.
a week and a half? Like they've played how many games in the last 10 days? It feels like they've played every
Right.
other night. They go down there, they're like, we're up 2-0. We're fine. They kind of have a let off and the Leafs can get back into this series. I do think that there's a chance for their momentum to run out a little
It's like
bit.
running in the city. You run for 5K and then you hit a traffic light and you have to stop. And it's just like, I think I'm just stopped.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I'm just
I
going
don't think I'm going to
to
start
grab
again.
a slice of pizza and walk home.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep
But,
running.
like, it's a very, very narrative-y, mojo kind of conversation.
So?
But there's no way that doesn't play into this a little bit where there's you switch it over onto their side, the self-satisfaction.
Yeah.
There's no, it's human nature.
Yeah.
That can creep in, and the Leafs have to take advantage of that going down there where they have their back against the wall, and the Cats have they have a chance to take their foot off the gas a little bit.
It'd be interesting to be on the bus with those guys or on the plane, whatever, and hear how they talk about this Leafs team because let's be real. They got pumped last game.
Yes.
And they're getting blown up too. Like, there's some big hits
it's not
out there.
like it's soft hockey for
Yeah,
them.
like I don't think they're sitting there going, "This is awesome."
Yeah.
We stole some wins up there.
Yeah, so I think it's a really blessing in disguise for them to have the extra day
Yeah,
and just listen to the radio a little bit, fellas.
for sure.
Read when you tell people not to read the press clippings, read them.
Yeah,
See what people are
read how
saying
it's
about
different
you.
this year for you and how easy it's going to be
Because-
now.
This is not, if they go down there, they lose on Sunday and they go out 3-0. If they, God forbid the brooms come out. This conversation is not going to be like, oh, well, they did it.
Mm-hmm.
This conversation, like jobs are still going to be on the line here.
Well, I said as much earlier that, the first round thing was imperative for Keefe, for Dubas, whatever.
For Leafs Nation.
If you beat the Lightning, then you'll get swept by Florida. I don't know how it's better.
Is it?
Oh, it's better. But is it how much better? It's not that much better. I mean, listen, Florida blew their team up last year after the exact same thing happened.
Yeah.
Second round
Coach
sweep.
is gone.
See ya.
Their star players traded.
See ya.
Everything, which was what a great trade by Bill Zito.
Great trade.
Unbelievable trade. And people made fun of him for that trade. And they got by far the best player in that trade. And it was an amazing trade.
Looks good now. I know we have one thing to do.
Yeah.
Do you want to do Nylander later? Because we got to talk about that.
No, wait, let's do Nylander now.
My 2 cents, I was really hard on him in the first game without the puck. I thought he was the best player on the ice last night. I know he had the turnover. His zone entries, and not just like the numbers of times he did it, the control, the plays he made. He set Tavares up 3 times. He walked in and took shots. He was dominant for me last night.
You want to hear his head coach talk about that?
I very
today?
much do.
Okay, there we go. Keefe on Willie?
Well, in the third period, William was a dominant player. He was the best player on the ice for either team by a mile. I thought really took control of the game and was created a number of looks for he and his line mates. Obviously, was unable to get it to go over the line for us. That is the next step and obviously the ultimate goal. But the way that William took charge of the game in the third period is obviously shows what he's capable of doing and what we need more of.
That's what pisses people off about Willie.
I was just going to say, if I'm Keefe watching that third period, I'm not happy. I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm mad. It's like, where have you been?
Right.
That guy dominated. I don't know.
No one else got to play.
No, he had the puck the entire time he was on
It's
the
like
ice.
watching my 6-year-old when there's this one select kid that has it the whole game. I'm like, can we get him out of here so everyone else can play?
Can someone pass it? And like, he just dominated.
Yeah.
And you haven't, like, even in the first round, he was good and for stretches.
Yeah.
But how many minutes he played in the third period, 8 minutes of hockey he played in the third period, was by far his best hockey.
When he's going, right?
When he's going, he's
was
going. So you really hope that heading down to Florida, you get that again. Because if you get that again, you probably win game 3.
I would guarantee it. You see another Willie game like that, they'll win game 3.
Okay, I promised Mess I wouldn't do this. Oh, my God. Guaranteeing. All right. It's time for playoff picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds. So I do my little check-ins.
I bet all my money on Florida in game 3.
Okay.
My family's in peril.
I am
I'm kidding.
I am rich.
About the family.
I am rich off the Panthers.
You are.
I am chock
You've been
full of
hedging
money.
from game 1 and 2?
Yeah, I did.
So early to get hedgy.
I wouldn't have. I can tell the story about how I obviously hedged big time on Tampa going into game 6.
Yes.
So I hedged big time.
Yeah.
Like more than I'd be willing to tell my mom how much I hedged. Like I hedged a lot.
Okay.
And then I went into overtime.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm doubling down on this hedge. And so then I was like, oh, well, I lost. I didn't even look at my account. Did not care. Did not think about it, obviously. Went in on Monday to check the odds for our segment.
Yeah.
And I had more money than I expected. I was like, what the hell? I accidentally bet on the Leafs going into overtime.
So not only did the Leafs get the win, he misbet on the
Yes.
Leafs and cashed.
Yeah, and I cashed. So I had more money than I expected. So I was like, okay, well, more money than expected. I'm going to go for game 1 hedge here. Obviously hit. Well, got a lot of money in my account. I'm going to go for a hedge again. I now have more money in the
All right, well, you need
so
to
the Cats are making me
pull
rich.
some of that out and not just keep piling it on, because the Leafs are going to win a hockey match here
we'll see.
at some point.
So I looked at the Cup favorites. I looked at the Cup favorites. They are now the Florida Panthers are the Cup favorite.
Baffled. What is the other? Disappointed and baffled to hear that.
I think it's valid.
Yeah.
How could you not?
There's some juice.
The
narrative is very nice.
And
They
they
trade to become like a heavier team, and
They just beat the Bruins.
yeah,
They've won 2. They won how many games in a row? They won 5? They won
Yeah.
5 games in a row.
against Boston and Toronto, 4 of which were on the road.
Yeah, I think it's a valid. And so the Leafs now have gone down to plus 800, the second worst odds.
Tempting.
Nah, it's-
Oh, I'm tempted.
And the worst odds, of course, is the Seattle Kraken at plus 1350.
Even though they're 1-1.
They got no belief in the poor Squids.
No players in the top 50 in the league.
So next thing is The Panthers odd. This is what made me sad. I looked at like the Panthers odds after Game 4,
Yeah.
like the series score after Game 4. Panthers to sweep is down to plus 310.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I wouldn't touch that.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Seeing a number that low, you look at that number and you're hoping it to be like plus 1100.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's plus 300. I'm like,
They
oh,
think it's kind of likely.
God.
I gotta, as a player, I've played in, for I would say 10 good years of playoff runs where you have a moment. I won the championship one of those 10 years, but you have a moment in all the other years. You're like, oh,
yeah,
like we're in the third period where we're in trouble. Like you suddenly have the first thought of summer vacation.
Yeah.
Truly, like on the bench, you're like, God, what am I gonna do? Like, all right, back in the game.
Oh yeah.
But like, as you were reading me that, I had my first like, God, the Leafs are almost out. Like, what does that do for the show? Okay, all right.
Willie's already thinking about the World Championship. All right, and the last one for you here. If you like the Devils to bounce back tonight, which I kind of do, and Andre Palat scored a lot of big goals for them.
Yes.
So a little same game parlay cooked up. Palat goal, Jack Hughes with 2 points, and the Devils to win is 10-1.
10-1.
So there you go. That's a little long shot bet if you're looking for something on a Friday.
All right.
And that was Playoff Picks presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds.
And that was our first segment. We will be back after the break. We're going to talk with Mike Rupp and Justin Cuthbert, our morning show host. Looking forward to that. So we'll get started with Rupper after the break.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne. We're going to be joined momentarily by Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, former NHLer, 609 games, and Stanley Cup champion.
Did I say this on air already about Simmons?
No.
Oh, the amount of people in my mentions be like, get Simmons in there or get Bennett.
Get Simmons in
He
there.
hasn't played in a month. It's the fastest team. Like, you have 11 forwards, and one of them's going to be Simmons. How many minutes is he going to play? 3?
Yeah, and that's love and respect for Wayne Simmons in his career, but this ain't the time.
Like, what is Bennett going to give him that fight? Bennett's going to look at him and be like, yeah, right, pal.
Yeah, I'm busy playing in the series.
I play the top line?
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's not a worthwhile suggestion.
I get being unhinged. I've been unhinged many times in my life. That is an unhinged take from Leaf fans today.
I was actually going to get your take on something that's really going under the radar because he's not a huge piece that they rely on, but David Kamp's not been anything.
No, they're not getting a ton. Like, it's kind of the same thing happening. They're not getting a ton from like
except old Flex Seal, all-star.
That was a great goal last
night.
Nice. Shot in the empty net.
Hey, I said they had 2 rebound chances. There's one.
Yeah, I know. But they're just not getting a ton from a lot of guys.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. Like Yarn Croc's giving them nothing.
Well, I am curious. We talked a little bit last night about time on ice. Yarn Croc played 8 minutes or something last night?
7:20.
I mean, that's pretty ridiculous. So, I believe we have Mike Rupp. Rupp, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Welcome.
How you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're doing good. Thanks for joining us today.
I catfished Rupp. I didn't tell him Kyper wasn't here today.
So really?
Stuck with me. I catfished him.
Oh,
Sorry,
tough
Rupper.
bounce, Rupper. We got Sam McKee on the other side of the glass today.
It's okay. It's all good. I was a little slippery yesterday. I was supposed to be on with you guys, so I apologize for that. So glad to connect here today.
No, for sure, and we really appreciate your time. We really wanted to get your take on what's going on here up in Toronto, where the team finds itself down 0-2 to the Florida Panthers. Leafs hum around pretty good last night, but wound up on the wrong side of the result. What are your thoughts on the early games in Florida and Toronto?
From the Panthers standpoint, it's they're fierce right now, right?
Yeah.
Like their forecheck, their pressure game. I mean, they're kind of getting back to a little bit of hockey 101, and it's all about forecheck. And we're seeing the same thing in the Western Conference with Seattle as far as just disrupting things by just everybody being on the same page and around that forecheck. I mean, the game's changed in a lot of ways, but a good hard forecheck where everyone's connected, it could do a lot of damage and create some turnovers. So I got to give them a ton of credit. I think they've been playing a great blend of hockey that we've seen over the last number of weeks. But from the Toronto standpoint, I get it. It's bad going down 0-2, going to South Florida. I don't find it to be all doom and gloom. A lot of these things, and especially in Game 2 yesterday, these are controllable things. Their puck management's got to be better. And it's just they're getting chances. I mean, I don't think that if you're we always talk about it in hockey, right? Like if you're not getting the chances, that's when you're concerned. If that's individually or collectively, they're getting chances. I mean, they're still a great skilled team that can turn things around. I think they do in this series. I don't see this to at some point they're going to break through offensively, but they got to stop shooting themselves in the foot, And I find that the game management has been a little bit of an issue so far in this series.
Yeah, it's probably the number one thing, Rupper, and to me, the Florida Panthers are just the perfect, exemplification, that's a big word for me there, of momentum in the playoffs. It's just the way that they're rolling right now to them and the way they're talking in post-game media scrums and the way they're talking in pregame stuff and the way they play on the ice, they just kind of feel like they don't think anything can go wrong for them right now. Do you feel that with them too?
Yeah, and it kind of gives me a little bit of PTSD with back in my career with 2012 when I was at the Rangers. And all season long, we were a top-end team. We were battling out with Van for the President's Trophy, and we played New Jersey in the Eastern Conference Finals. And for 7 months, I mean, we were absolutely by far a better team than them. But at that juncture of the season in the playoffs, they just were rolling. And on playoff hockey, it's weird because players we see individually that aren't probably someone that would maybe, I don't know, scare you as far as the lineup goes with really kind of hurting you in the way they play, with just even offensively or any way, right? Like you don't pay attention to certain players, and all of a sudden this player is like a factor every shift, every game. And it's just when teams get rolling like that, it's dangerous. And again, use those same words I used before, connected, united. Everything they're doing is, it just kind of rolls. And it's like, what the shift's going to look like before you get out there. And that's playoff hockey. That's whenever we see some of these Cinderella, I guess, stories, it's stuff like that. So, it just seems like they've kind of gone, they're playing the right brand of hockey at the right time, just like the Devils did back in 2012. And it's tough, but, it's not unbreakable. I think that it's just, you got to make sure that you're not giving them any free passes. They got to earn everything. And at the end of the day, if you lose to that, it still stings, but at least you can kind of tip your cap to that. But I think sometimes the frustration sets in. Like you sit there and think, well, we know we're better than them. And then you start getting out of character a little bit. You start overstretching yourself, and I think that's the slippery slope this Leafs team's going to have to deal with.
So I want to get your take on this, Robert, because you played in a ton of NHL playoff games with the road versus home record stuff that's happening right now, and it's unprecedented. I think through the first couple rounds of this playoffs, how many teams are winning on the road. But what is it like? Did you prefer being on the road, prefer being at home? Like, what do you think it is about that that's so weird this year?
I loved playing at home in the playoffs. There's nothing like it. I mean, that's what you remember the most as far as the energy, all those things. But I do think that at times it's hard to funnel your emotions the right way. I think that there's teams in the playoffs this year that have gotten into penalty trouble in games like that because you're all jacked up. You're feeding off the crowd. It's home. Everything is escalated, and sometimes that there's a little bit of a power struggle, I think, in your brain of what's right and what you just want to flow with, right, and go with. And so I like playing at home, obviously more in the playoffs, but the road seemed to be a little easier because you're going and you're just consumed with, I mean, everything is revolving around, it is at home too, but I hate to use family as distractions. I mean, it's your family, but you're in a little cocoon when you're on the road in the playoffs. And it's like, you're watching other playoff games on your nights off. You're eating together. You're, getting extra work with the trainers. Everything is geared around getting rest for your game, and it's just focusing on it and kind of owning in. So I found that it was a little bit easier, and plus you're not supposed to have success on the road. It's a little easier, less pressure. So I don't know why this year's numbers are so crazy. I don't know what to kind of put on that, but just when I played it, I put it this way, I love starting series on the road because I feel like it allows you to kind of, there's no pressure there, and you can also kind of, get a big win. If you get a big win on the road in the first two games, like I feel like that changes everything.
For sure. And, one thing that makes a big swing is just like a couple of bounces can go a long way. You're on the road. You don't have to be the better team, but you luck one or two in. All of a sudden, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. I sometimes feel like I straddle two camps because I'm into analytics and numbers and all that. And I can tell you that the Leafs have outchanced and outperformed and should score and yada, yada the last few games. But I also played in the minors and have been told my whole life about earning your luck. And the Leafs have been unlucky in the first couple games. Where do you weigh in on how you earn your luck and if you can even earn luck?
I think you can. I mean, that's obviously when we always say that you earn your bounces or you play the right way, you're going to get the bounces. I mean, clearly that's not a proven thing. Like we just think that way, like you just continue to do the right things. Eventually it's going to go for you. But I think a lot of times it's in the playoffs, you can be feeling good about yourselves. The numbers could speak to feeling good about your team game as far as even shot volume. Geez, I hope we're at a stage in our hockey consumerism now where we don't put so much onus on shots on goal. I think that we've learned now where the shots are coming from and all those things. Like those things really matter. But it's about getting to that middle of the ice. And I think that's where you feel like you can earn the bounces. Because you could shoot the puck. You can get 75 shots on goal in a game. And if they're from the outside, I mean, you might score 1 or 2, 0. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So you got to get to those areas. We see so many going off of the opponent's skates. You know, we get double deflections. I mean, that's where you earn bounces. You keep going to those areas and battling for that part of the ice. And that's where I think you can earn some bounces.
So I want to ask you about Matthew Tkachuk and what we've seen out of him here, because the Toronto media has been all over him in terms of propping him up. And I don't know if you saw Maurice yesterday, but he said they're not the best line in the history of hockey. But I think this guy has really sort of elevated himself into the conversation of one of the elite. Like I think he was before, but what this playoff run has done for him so far, like I think remember when we all said that, is Claude Giroux better than Sidney Crosby? Remember when we all had that conversation, that one playoff run?
Yes.
Like I really do feel that there's going to be some people saying that he is one of the top 5 guys in the league when it's all said and done if they do get past the Leafs.
Yeah, so I don't know how you measure this, but this is how my brain works, is we all would probably agree Connor McDavid's the most talented player in the NHL in the world.
Agreed, yeah.
You can go on and on, argue who's number 2 and all those great things. But for me, there's like this fake category of top players that influence the game. And like that doesn't mean in general. That means every single night ways that player can influence the game to win. I think a perfect example of that is how highly regarded Patrice Bergeron's been in his career. Mm-hmm. You know, Patrice Bergeron's not a 100-point guy. He's not a 120 guy. Like he's not going to hang up there with it. But as far as influencing the game in his prime years, he influenced it just as well as anybody else. Matthew Tkachuk obviously can get the 100+ points, but he influences it in so many other ways. Another guy, to go back to Boston, that I've kind of thrown in this category over the years is I felt like a Brad Marchand influences games every single night. So if you were to say, all right, on this any given night, Brad Marchand was a prime factor of his team winning this game, I put his numbers, he'd be influencing games for the Boston Bruins almost like Connor McDavid in Edmonton. Totally different ways in doing it, but it could be his penalty killing. It could be his block shots. It could be getting under the skin. It could be drawing penalties. It could be scoring. I mean, this guy, it just his energy he brings. That's kind of like Matthew Tkachuk for me. Like he can put up 4 points, doesn't need to. He could still be the best player on the ice and have 0 points. So that's a unique blend, and in that kind of mystical category for me, I mean, he influences games just as much as any other player in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
What's a complaint here is that the superstars, a guy like Nylander, he'll be nowhere to be seen for 10 games, then amazing, or Marner, you think he's had some pretty good quiet runs here in the playoffs, and not able to impact the game all the time. Someone like Tkachuk, then, if you're defending a guy like that or playing against them, how do you shut him down? I asked this to Kyper yesterday, but more engagement or less?
I would think less. I would think it's one of those guys that you want to, I guess, sleep. I don't know if Matthew Tkachuk will ever sleep, but I don't think you want to, those are the type of players that when they want to engage you verbally or physically, don't do it. I think that's the only way, because he gets stronger in those moments, and he's able to do more. But that's the crazy thing about it. Okay, maybe he feels that, so he backs off that a little bit, and then this is a player that I thought last year, him getting his 100 points, he wasn't going to be able to do that again because he was on the best line in hockey last season in Calgary, and he had a better season this year, right? Like I don't understand it, and he can do it other ways, and but yeah, I think you gotta, you don't want to play his type of game like that. You try to kind of ignore it and move on, but I think it's hard because then he'll just turn and do something else.
No kidding. Well, Rapper, we really appreciate your insight on all this stuff. We're looking forward to see if they can figure him and Bobrovsky out in the games ahead. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Robert.
All right. Thanks, fellas.
Thanks so much. That is Mike Rupp, NHL analyst for NHL Network.
There he goes. Dunk.
Doink.
15 points in 9 games so far for Matthew Tkachuk.
You know what's funny though? Do you have his Elite Prospects page open? Is that what you're looking at?
I'm just looking at his. I'm just looking at his hockey.
Hockey DB. Yeah, it has his playoff stats though, year by year.
Yeah, this is by far his best.
Typically has not been a great playoff performer.
Yeah,
and I remember the year they lost to the Oilers.
He was bad last year.
Was it last year?
Yeah, he scored in the first game, and then he didn't score again or
And
have a point.
quiet. Like, you know, Rupper talked about like his ability to impact the play. He just kind of stopped playing.
To be fair, they were pretty overwhelmed in that series.
They were,
playing
but
against,
and maybe he's a foot out the door
yeah,
as well.
yeah.
Which not a good compliment to any player, I
No.
don't think, if you let that lead into your game. But
No, like he had 40, 110 points this year.
yeah. Did he really?
Yeah, it's just like I said to you yesterday, the word that comes to mind for him, and he was like it again last night. It's just he's relentless.
Mm-hmm.
There's never a shift where he's just like not breathing down your throat. And I think Rupper, I asked that question, and I don't think he could have laid it out any better than he did in terms of guys that just influence the games in different ways.
For
right?
sure.
And I think of, I actually don't put him in the class, obviously, of Kachuk, but a guy like that is Killorn to me.
Yeah.
With Tampa, where
Just
he went long stretches without scoring, but you're just like, God, this guy is really annoying.
Yeah.
He's in your face. He's on top of the goal. He's good defensively. He's all over the ice.
To me, Matthews is the closest thing the Leafs have to that,
Oh,
in
because
that he
he's
can block
elite-
shots
he's
and win
elite
puck battles. And,
defensively.
yes.
There's no question he is elite defensively.
But he's not, he lacks the physical element that you're talking
For
about
sure.
with Killorn, Marchand, Kachuk, like that type of guy.
Yeah, I guess maybe Ryan O'Reilly would be the closest to that.
How about his finish on Marner's beautiful pass last night?
Yeah, it's nice to see him score a goal, and it would have been really nice for that to be the winning goal in the hockey game. Like,
Certainly would have.
I do, not to circle back on the goaltending and, beat up on it, but they at least have scored 2 goals in 3 straight games, which is not nearly enough. They won one of those 3 games.
Yeah.
At some playoff games are 2-1.
Yeah. They
Right?
won game 6 2-1. When Samsonov played great, that was enough.
There's allowed to be low scoring games.
Yeah.
And I think, reverse, and if we're going back to the space-time continuum here again that I referenced earlier, I think if you make that save on that flutter puck from the top of the circle, you get that save, you get a face-off, you kind of slow things down. There's a world where the Leafs win that game 2-1.
Yeah.
Because they really, really were great in
Yeah.
all facets from that point on.
Sure.
So, I know you got to score more than 2 goals usually to win a hockey game, but you can't win a game 2-1.
Yeah, no, it's an option for sure. And it was as disheartening as it was.
Sammy to beat up. I hate
No.
beating up on him because he won them their first round in 20 years. I
Yeah.
know it's great. He was unbelievable.
What
in game
have you
6,
done for
but
me lately?
But yeah, but I kind of want to go a little further.
Yeah.
And he's
That was the
not
first
been very
step.
good in the first 2 games of the series.
No, we have
Anyways.
lots to cover in the next block. I want to talk more about knives. You got knives. Oh, I pulled
Oh,
the Kipper.
no.
I pulled the Kipper. We got more on knives.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that. We're going to be joined by Justin Cuthbert, host of our morning show here, which is exciting. And we're going to take questions. Text fan 90 or just text 59590.
Yes, text 59590. Your takes on this series, your takes on anything, your takes on life. I'll read anything for you.
We got a couple of tweets too out there that
A
people have
couple?
responded 16,000 times to, which is
Man,
good.
People are engaged.
Well, we are too.
Well, I know we're engaged, but it's really opens my eyes to just not on a personal standpoint here. People care about the Leafs.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? Everyone said all season, regular season doesn't matter. Regular season doesn't matter. And people treated it like it didn't.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's not the regular
The
season.
fans have flipped the switch just like the Leafs have.
We're playing now.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
People want Wayne Simmons in the lineup to fight.
Relax.
Anyways, all right, we'll talk to Cuthbert.
We'll talk to Cuthbert, break it all down after the break.
This is Real Kyper and Bourne on Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Welcome back to Real McKee and Bourne. The Real McKee.
Oh, the real McKee, the real McCoy.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've been telling you about this. Having some cases of the olds here.
Yeah.
My back is killing me.
All right, let me address this.
And I think I know why.
Tell the people why.
Because I stand for all the games.
McKee stands for the whole game, or at least most of the game.
I stand for, like, I'll be sitting at the start. And then once the game gets into the second period, it's close or whatever, I stand.
What is your living room situation like? Is Allie watching with you?
Yeah, sometimes.
And you're just standing? Does she
there.
think you're a complete psycho?
I stand like, you know how like you'd see like an old guy
Hands
standing?
behind his back.
How you'd like see an old guy standing outside of Tim's? That's how I stand. Like a foot
Just
in front
in
of my
New
TV.
Balance.
And a foot in front of my TV. I'm just sitting there like, yes, I am taking in what's happening here.
I am as close to this as possible.
And my lower back is just barking.
All right. We're joined by our boy, Justin Cuthbert. Man, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Hey, buddy.
No problem. A question for Sammy.
Yes.
Heard about, the happiness hedging.
Yes.
Does that include betting on Vinny Viola's horse at the Kentucky Derby this weekend?
Wow. I never even crossed my mind. But he's the favorite, right? What's his horse called?
It's Forte. He is the favorite, I think. I mean, it's still a decent price. I think it's like 6-7 to 1.
So, he should name that horse Hockey on Sunday. That's what he should name his horse. Because Leaf fans are so unhinged. They were like, "Oh, the owner got him to move the game so he can go to the race."
They were hinged. They were reasonably hinged on that one.
You're here for that take?
Not for that's why, but that it's unacceptable.
Oh, yeah.
Not happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just talking about Sammy standing up and watching the hockey games because he's weird and passionate. Are you, how invested are you personally in this, or is it all a professional view for you?
Good question.
That is a good question because, there are a ton of Leaf fans working at this station as I've sort of, as I've learned here in my transition starting last September. And I've never really bled blue. Like I've always understood and really had a passion for the conversation around the Maple Leafs, but I've never been someone who's lived and died with the success of the Toronto Maple Leafs. But being in media for the length of time that I have, I've been waiting for this run forever because, as you both know, and everyone sort of understands, that if the Leafs do well, it's beneficial for everyone. So
Yes.
I've been waiting forever for, the reaping the reward of that, or at least just like writing the different story or talking about the new storylines. And round two, as much as it's been kind of like, oh, do we really want to be here based on the start? It's nice to talk about round two of the Stanley Cup playoffs involving the Toronto Maple Leafs. So it's not like fan hat, leave that to Ailish, but the Leaf and the Leaf conversation's always been like, top three in terms of passions.
So I've not only, turned my love, like I love the Toronto Maple Leafs my whole life. So I've turned that and I've turned it into like not only my job and my finances. So I've tied.
You're just so invested.
I tied literally everything. That's why I have to bet so much on the other team because my whole life is tied to this team. Anyways, so Justin, heading in, we were just talking about this in the first segment here, and I'll pose the question to you. Like, what gives you the most worry heading into Game 3, and what gives you the most hope heading into Game 3?
The most worry would be sort of the confidence point, I think. We were talking about on the show all year that confidence really drives this team, and I think it was shaken within the first, 2-3 weeks of the season with Mitch Marner kind of being the face of all that, and all of a sudden Mitch Marner goes on that, 30-game point streak, and the confidence is oozing, and he can't be stopped, and it seems to permeate the whole group. And it seems like this team does kind of go up and down, ride the roller coaster of confidence a little bit. And hey, what's more emblematic of that than their struggles in the playoffs up until this point, and I guess now included in round two here. I think the confidence probably has been shaken, and the confidence when shaken has been a massive, massive issue. So that needs to sort of be rectified. I guess the confidence thing would be, or what gives me, hope that things will be a little bit different in Game 3 is that Sergei Bobrovsky isn't this guy. I just think we saw the the charts floating around, the expected goal stuff, the 2-game samples. Yes, I understand this has been a brilliant little start to the series here for Sergei Bobrovsky, but this guy loses it as quick as he captures it. He's lost his starting position every year since he's went to Florida. Yes, he can catch waves, but how long is he going to be able to ride that wave? I just can't see him being Fort Knox for the entire 7-game series. So I feel like eventually these pucks are going to get through, and when they do, there could be a rush of them, and then, hey, maybe the confidence rushes back with it. So breaking the dam would be very, very important. I think they were close to doing it in Game 2 in the first period, but he held in just enough to really find his center again, and that allowed Florida to get on the board. So getting to Sergei Bobrovsky is obviously the key right now, and if I think they do that, then you can kind of eliminate the big concern, which is the confidence point.
Yeah, you mentioned that chart that's floating around with the expected goals saved above, or what is it? Say it for
Goals
me.
saved above expected.
Thank you. I went to my analytics expert to say the words for me. But this has been his best 2-game stretch as a Florida Panther.
Yeah.
And the chart is, I wouldn't say it's going one way. There's some low dips along the other way. And I mean, you've watched Florida play the Leafs. You've watched Florida play other teams. He can be so bad, like so bad that you're right. You just have to hope that this is going to flip and that you have to bank on the fact that it has always flipped with him. But man, it's just, I made this comparison the other night on Leafs Talk, and I'll make it here. This team's giving me 2015 Kansas City Royals vibes, Justin, where it's just like they're catching lightning in a bottle. It's small sample size hockey, and he just is right on fire for the whole time. That's what scares me.
And you got to flip it for him, right? Like, let's say he's in control of this switch for whatever reason. It will take, more than just clean looks and pressure and downhill running, if you want to call it that, like it was in the third period. It might take traffic. It might take what you did to get through Tampa. Like, they have to be a little bit different. And I think the thing that's like most representative of the fact that, yeah, he's clearly feeling it is that Austin Matthews has seemed to try everything in his bag, and he's gotten chances because he's gone through the bag so far, and he can't seem to figure out any way through Sergei Bobrovsky. So it's got to come through other means, right?
You know when Matthews is really knows he can't score, he's fighting, is when he tries that 5-hole one. Like, because he
like the cheeky 5-hole switch.
I hate the 5-hole one where he's just like, I guess maybe 5-hole. I can't beat him anywhere else. And he tries to go 5-hole from the dot. So you can really tell when he's fighting.
Pretty good it works, though.
Oh, yeah, it really is.
What are your thoughts on, the loss of Matthew Knies and what it does to the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup and the way that he was injured and the lack of repercussions from the league?
Okay, so the loss, I've been thinking about this since we figured out, we knew he got a concussion. I mean, I think I knew when he was stumbling across the ice that he probably shouldn't have been back in the game, but he was within a couple shifts. But I've been thinking about it, and it's kind of like, it looks bad on management, doesn't it? Like, this guy has been this mercenary, right? Where he's come in, he's been so impressive, he's given them life, and it's so great and such a thing to latch onto because it's so entirely new. I mean, you look at this team. Since John Tavares was put into place behind Austin Matthews in the depth chart, like every single person on the roster is acquired through means other than draft and development. The guys that are here that have been drafted, like Timothy Liljegren, there are problems at the end of the lineup, and you might sit them in Game 3 because it's just not working with them. This is such a brand new thing for Leaf fans to experience in this era, and it's really a bit of an indictment on, the hockey operations department because they haven't been able to add someone like Matthew Knies over and over and over again. Like, what feeds a team like the Carolina Hurricanes? Well, it's Seth Jarvis coming up, and they have a conveyor belt of players that come and lift the bottom, and there's just something that's completely foreign to this group, and that's why it's been so great to see him come in and actually have an impact, because guess what? Calle Jarnkrok, acquired through free agency, hasn't done anything, was reduced to, 7 minutes in Game 2? Like, it's a big issue when you're counting on, exclusively banking on guys who other teams have given up on. And that's kind of where they're at. But in terms of, how he was injured, it's greasy. It's the greasiest. It's very, very greasy. But cumulative damage that doesn't get you suspended. And what he did to Knies, if Knies wasn't injured, you never look at it again. Like, it's a tackle. It's a penalty. I don't know why it wasn't called but is it something that gets you suspended? No. And then I look at the cross-check, which he was fine for. It's the same thing as the Sam Lafferty one on, I think it was Ross Colton. And you can't add those two things up and just say, hey, one game, at least to me. I mean, he's towing the line. He's flirting with the line. He crossed it, I guess, enough to get 5K. But cumulative damage isn't something that George Peros is going to consider when he goes through the game film. It's just the reality. And if the Leafs need to do something about or if something needs to be done about Sam Bennett, you can't count on the NHL and the league to do it. You got to kind of step in yourself, and they got to do something to slow Sam Bennett down because he had a real bloodthirst in Game 2, and it was undeniably effective.
He is a real problem for the Leafs. Like
he is that
in the fact that he is not only very good, but he is violent. And he wants to be violent, and he's in your kitchen. And, like, who did he spank on the first shift of the first game? Was it Kampf?
Yeah.
And Kampf was looking over his shoulder the rest of the game. Like, he is a real – I think that's the difference between Tampa and Florida is that the Tampa Stars, while greasy, aren't going to run you through the boards and, like, hurt you and want to hurt you. I feel like the top end, like Tkachuk and Bennett and these Nick Cousins, who I know is on a star, but he's playing on the top line, like – the Tampa's grunts are their grunts. The Stars on Florida are kind of their grunts. You know what I mean? Like they really,
That's nice.
It's great. They really lean on you when you expect it to be the guys in the lower part of the lineup, and it's their stars that are really leaning on the Leafs.
We were joking about this morning, like Matthew Tkachuk has just spawned other Matthew Tkachuks. Like I know Sam Bennett was always like a playoff performer and always a mean dude, but all of a sudden Nick Cousins is like 6 inches taller and acting like Matthew Tkachuk without the skill out there. And you know what? He was effective too, because I think the worst play of the night, the thing that infuriated me the most about what the Leafs did, forget the, 66 seconds from hell, was John Tavares looking over his shoulder with Nick Cousins behind him and deciding not to eat the puck. Like that's something that everyone who's played the game can understand. Even if you're in the worst men's league possible, you eat the puck with 5 seconds if you can. And John Tavares didn't want to go near it because he had Nick Cousins coming behind him, ready to land a hit. And he coughed up the puck, and Austin Matthews has to take a penalty. And you guess what the Toronto Maple Leafs needed an extra couple minutes of? Well, that was time to tie the game. And instead of 20 minutes, they had 18 minutes in the third period because they began the period killing a penalty. Those things add up. That's the losing hockey that they and that's the trap they've fallen into when a lot of it didn't look so pretty in Tampa Bay, but there was a lot of winning hockey in the series against Tampa Bay.
Yeah. All right, so before we let you go, we'll give you a chance to forecast this thing the rest of the way. It's okay. You don't have to paint the optimistic Sam and Ailish view of this thing if you don't want to, but what do you see coming here as they head towards Florida?
Well, I think the rest is good. I think that they're still in Toronto is a good sign, too. I don't want to be sending you to Florida for 2 days to just hang with, Miami Heat games, F1 races, and a lot of other things you could potentially do. So I think, show up on Saturday, late afternoon, a lot of time to collect your thoughts, a lot of time to rest. I mean, Austin Matthews went, 25 minutes, Mitch Marner the same. Rest up and have a really angry effort, a William Nylander type effort where surely he was slapped around in the intermission a little bit and then was the best player on the ice in the third period. We need to see that urgency. We need to see a lack of hesitancy. We need to see the Maple Leafs go after it and get it, and they should because they are, on paper, still the better team despite being 0-2.
All right. Well, thanks so much, man. We really appreciate having you on today. Thanks.
Cheers, boys. Enjoy the weekend.
Yep.
Yeah, you too. That is Justin Cuthbert, the host of the Fan Morning Show.
Are the Leafs on the Justin cusp of coming back in this series?
Yeah, if I were to place a bet, man, I'm going to look at the Leafs. Well, the Leafs to win this series.
I can look that up for you.
Yeah, find me that, will you?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, so a few things that we didn't get to in the opening block. There's a lot to pick through. I'm actually surprised at how much there was to pick through from this first game. The home losses was one of it. I am always interested in Paul Maurice's comments.
The Leafs are plus 235 on Bet365.
I don't want that.
Still not good enough.
No,
because they know
people believe.
Yeah, they still kind of think they're.
Vegas still believes,
yeah,
folks. That's lovely.
Yeah.
I want to hear, he talked about the 66 seconds from hell. Paul Maurice weighed in on what he said between the first and second period.
This is going to make you hate him.
Oh, really? Oh, good.
Yeah.
Let's get Maurice on that.
Yeah, no problem.
Nothing funny. I had my mic on from that quest for the cup, so my language was no good. We talked about the idea that you don't get to own every game, right? The first 10, twice shorthanded, that was theirs. That was their push. The Lundell goal was huge in this game because at that point you're going, this could be 12-0, right? Like they're honest. That goal's big. And then a real strong push there in that middle part for that. And then we just settled, okay. So they're going to be good. They're going to get their chances. They're going to make their plays. They're rolling tonight. Let's just stay in the fight. Like, for me, it's perspective. That's 5 games and 9 nights of as intense emotional pressure you can put on a hockey team. And we're not, this isn't the Jersey Rangers series where the home teams are 11 miles apart. We've been on an airplane for a while.
So it's exactly, is that not playing into my?
I actually am. I was thinking about what you said while he was talking. Like, give them a chance to
settle in,
slow down,
go home, fellas.
Step back and take a look at what you've accomplished.
Put the feet up.
What an accomplishment!
You live in Florida. Go
6 wins in the playoffs.
Go out in your lanai. You know, put your feet up by the pool.
That'd be nice. Yeah.
Got it. I hate to admit this to you. I love Florida.
I hate it.
I know.
My least favorite state.
I love Florida. I have family who lives in Florida. I go to Florida every year. I love Florida. I wouldn't live there, but I love visiting.
You know what
Florida.
wants you dead? Everything. The people want you dead. The bugs want you dead. The alligators want you dead. The weather wants you dead. Everything in Florida would prefer you not be there.
I went on a trip to Florida in August once.
Oh, God. It's just oppressive wet heat.
Honestly. And I was like, I went to visit my Uncle Glenn and my cousin Gracie, and I went there and I was like, I'm going to go shoot some hoops.
They're like, no, you're not.
My cousin's like, you sure? And I went out and I literally was out there for 2 minutes like, I should have stayed on. Why did I leave Ontario in August? This is the best month of the year.
That's
Anyways.
All right. So,
what else haven't we played?
Well, Maurice on what he said there is interesting too, just because the idea that he's like, he was very philosophical.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot like Cooper. Like
every question is a essay.
Yeah, it's a chance to be, Socrates once again, and be like, every game is not yours to own. To
be
how
to win
profound
or not to win.
Yeah, you just got pumped for 10. It's not a philosophy class.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that's a good message to a road team who's trying to steal another one, like they did.
So, do you want to play the Keefe on the lineup without Nyes? Because I think he alludes to some pretty good stuff in that one. About,
and do you want to do the update on him first?
He just says that he's
concussed. See you later.
And he's day-to-day after the next 2 games.
Do we think there's any chance he comes back?
I think it'd be a really... I always often joke about the Leafs winning the PR Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And how good they are.
When's that happened?
I mean, they are the kings of doing everything right in the community, in the public eye, in the conceived public relations. You know what I mean?
Outside of letting their people communicate with the outside world.
Yes. Other than that,
right?
Well, I mean, like a radio interview, you're gotta. It's a bridge too far, good sir.
Gotcha.
But I just I think it'd be a really tough look after these next 2 games to put a 20-year-old kid, back in a really physical series when he's had brain trauma.
Of course.
Why did they say concussion?
But maybe.
But why'd they say concussion?
Well, are they
trying to get him suspended?
Well, that could play into it. But I don't think that saying concussion is like a mandatory period where you can't participate. Maybe he skates tomorrow or the day after. I do think that it's in their interest to sell it to everyone. Sell it to his team. He's not available. Sell it to Florida. He's unavailable. To the league, this guy's done. When, maybe there's a chance to get him back. If he comes back, he's a boost, I guess. Yeah. And you just have to assume he's not going to be there.
I would be extremely surprised to see him again in this series.
I would too.
To be honest, my sensibilities have changed a lot in hockey, as we've often talked about. Like the way that the game has changed and the way it's viewed is kind of the way I've changed my views about it.
I used to love the Sammy Kapanen hit.
Oh my God.
Him like struggling to get off. Be like, Bell,
buddy,
run.
That is one of the greatest moments of my childhood, followed by the worst moment when Jeremy Roenick went down the other end and shot in the net. But you're right.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, look at that idiot. You're like, oh Jesus, what was I saying? Buddy, I was a season ticket holder for the Onside Attack for 20 years, and I went and watched 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds beat up each other for 4-hour-long games. It's like things have changed for the better.
Yes.
But I'd feel cringy if Matthew Nyes played again this series.
Sure, and I'm fine with that. I agree that, depending, because had the blow he taken been much worse, I think I would agree with you. You know, they looked like a couple of small ones, which are also very bad. I'm not saying it's good, but I am saying I can see him playing again. I guess the hope is that when they play round 3 starting May 19th, Saturday night, that he's available. It does.
May 19th.
Yeah, that's roughly my guess. But anyway, so let's hear what the lineup will look like without Matthew Nyes.
Yeah, well, obviously he's proven to improve the depth of our team and believe we're a better team when he's in. All that said, we were a very good team before he arrived on scene here. So, you know, we'll make some adjustments accordingly, but we've got full confidence in our group.
Yeah, that sounds like expected. I like the idea that he's like, listen, we were a very good hockey team. We were in second when he came along. We're in second with him.
You have multiple elite hockey players on your team. You should win some games without Matthew.
We had 4 superstars up front. Stars, if you like, a super too much, and then added Ryan O'Reilly. You know, like that. There's 5 guys there who have pedigree. So you can't say you don't have Nyes. You're in big trouble. Next man up and all that sort of stuff. So we have reached the last 20 minutes of our program.
A lot of these are not questions. They're like takes, which I don't mind.
No, that's fine. A take's as good as a question for us. We just want to.
So this one's from
jumping off.
This one's from Travis Rosebrook, who tweeted in at Travis Rosebrook. Thanks, Travis. It's a great point. The Leafs haven't lost 3 games in a row since October 2022. If I'm not mistaken. Is he mistaken?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm going with you, Travis Rosebrook.
Yeah.
I'm going blind into your narrative. I think maybe in regulation they might have. I don't think they lost 3 in a row since the start of the year. Remember talking about that. I don't think the big boys lose game 3 if they bring the same effort and eliminate the big mistakes.
Yeah.
If they get that many chances again in game 3, they are winning
5.
the hockey match.
Yeah. 100%. I truly believe that the one thing that they need to accept, and Rupp talked about this a little bit, is that you just have to make it so hard for the other team by being so responsible and not giving them any free chances, because you're going to get yours. And I was wrong in our group chat last night. I was like, they're going to get to 3. The question is, can they keep Florida to 3?
Yeah.
And they didn't get to 3 because Bobrovsky made 6 billion saves, but I was right that the chances came to get there. So to me, it's a matter of keeping Florida to a manageable number, because there's no doubt the Leafs are going to score. It's just a matter of, keeping the other team down.
Yeah.
And Samsonov doing well enough with it.
Joe Smith from Cornwall, Ontario. Wow. Give me the full government.
What's your address?
I mean, that could be a very fake name. A shocked Bruin fans here. I feel you, Leaf fans. The eye test tells you that you should win. The loss of Nyes is huge. Great show, guys. So he's a scorned Bruins fan. I'm sure this is like, as a Bruins fan watching this, there's a lot of PTSD from that first round.
Yeah.
Because these games feel similar to the last few games of the Bruins Panthers series.
And it's impossible not to look at Florida's roster and go Mahura, Forsland, Colin White, Eric Stahl, Zach Dalpe. There's enough guys in this roster that should get exposed. You look at teams that have success in the playoffs and look at what Vegas does. They get expansion drafts, so they're the deepest team. So think about it. Their best player is like the 8th best player in any other team.
Yeah.
But their worst player is also the 8th best player on another team. So they don't have that bottom, and they just win. Consistency, they have no depth to expose. Seattle, same thing. They have no bad depth to expose. They win. Florida, bad depth to expose. They should lose.
Yeah. They have bad depth.
But it just...
Their 4th line plays 4 minutes a night.
Yeah.
And they had, what was that guy? I don't even know the Dalpe or
Dalpe.
Dalpe?
Yeah.
He took a penalty last night.
He's a journeyman minor leaguer who I once picked to win the Calder Trophy 12 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I just thought he was good in training camp. It was a preseason prediction.
Wow, I love that.
That's what I mean. Like,
that is a take.
Yeah.
Dalpe. I'm going to look up his career stat. I'll look it up later. All right. Happy Friday, guys.
You too.
Maurice from Caledon.
What's up, Mo?
Maybe this is Paul.
What if?
One thing you forgot to mention so far is that Florida has been playing exhausted and tired constantly for the last little while. Now they've got a couple days off to relax. I think they're going to be better in game 3.
Love it. Love having
That's
the
Paul.
zag. I love the Zolf. That's Paul Mo.
That's Paul.
That's Pomo.
Yeah, we get it, Paul.
No.
No?
I mean, you have exercised in your life. You've lifted weights.
Yeah, once, twice.
And
I wouldn't tell you what I benched in high
not
school.
recently. But, you know, when you stop, you made the joke about jogging before.
Yeah.
It takes some time to, you know, to get
fire it back up.
Yeah, it hurts a couple days later, sometimes more so than the next day. So, you know, I don't think Florida's going to suddenly be better with a day's rest. As I mentioned, it's going to help some guys have a little bit more pop early in shifts, but the wear and tear is still there.
This is from, I can't read this name of their title. I'll show you after. It's very funny.
All right.
Feels like uncharted territory, so I haven't really been too disappointed. I feel that too.
No, you don't.
Like I'm upset, but I'm not like devastated. It is uncharted. If they lost in the first round, I would have been devastated. But it's uncharted. If they lose on Sunday, clearly devastated. But up until this point, not devastated. What gives me hope is that the Leafs are so much better, and it just seemed like the goalies have been the difference. Nylander looked like the best player in the world last night. Looked like it was a World Junior game.
What is your appetite for they should have won? They deserved to win. If they lose in 4 games to Florida and they all look like game 2, where they outshoot them by 100, they would lose 4-3.
I don't know. No comment at this time.
Really?
It's
I
gonna
just
be
feel like that's done here.
I'm already having such a hard time analyzing this.
Yeah.
And like I woke up this morning, not worried about getting through 2 hours because obviously I'm doing this a long time. I can do it. But like, I feel like I could have come on the radio today, turned on the mic and been like, they're way better. Goalie was bad. Made a mistake. That's it. Thanks for listening to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what the game was.
Yeah.
It was the, like Cuthbert said, the 66 seconds from hell.
Yeah.
Which may apply to some other things in my life. All right. This is from Owen. This is from Owen Lamacroft on Twitter. Samsonov worries me. He's overplaying everything, which leads to some big saves, but also some really bad goals. I think it's time to take McKenna's idea and give Wall a chance to get us back in it. Forwards in the D zone also have their heads in the clouds. Sometimes brutal to watch. Thanks, Owen.
I will say this. Typically, I would really disagree with the Leafs forwards in the D zone being a problem. The weak side D, so the weak side winger, is been lost an awful lot in terms of protecting the slot in the net front area. And also, you know, you look at Nyes kind of gets caught between on the one they shoot through in game 1. They haven't been great. I'm going to hear that. I'm going to ding, ding, ding. I'm going to give you points on that one. The Wall Samsonov stuff, like, come on. Like, how desperate. Like,
No, you can't do Wall.
You just,
I
no
will
disrespect to Wall. Wall might be the starter next year.
I will ask you something here, though.
Okay.
Healthy Matt Murray in a vacuum
Yeah. Healthy Matt Murray, if he were available tonight,
is playing on Sunday.
no. I would send him to go play for the Toronto Marlies.
Okay.
And
I don't like. I was about to say I don't like Matt Murray. It's a rude thing to say. I don't
the
love him in the
goaltending,
net.
yes. And as always, these criticisms are not about the person.
But
I don't think he's an NHL goalie at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think the
He hasn't
pedigree and
played
the,
and
yeah.
but so there's part of me that when Samsonov, I thought we might wake up today and get the report like, hey, Samsonov's concussed. Like he took 2 off the bean last night.
That clapper that like he collapsed.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy that he is so obviously hurt with something. And everyone's just like, well, he always does that. You know, like he always looks hurt. And
it's kind of the boy who cries wolf situation.
It 100% is. That's exactly what this is. Where you're like, I don't know, tell us when you're really hurt.
You've been milking injuries all year. Like looking hurt all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know what's real.
Yeah.
And you continue to play.
So if you take a knee for a minute in game, excuse us for not being like, get the EMS out there. Anyway, I did have a moment last night where I was like, if Wool goes in, and I mean this with full conviction, I don't feel any worse about their chances. It doesn't really change it. Like Wool has a chance to get hot. If he gives up a bad goal, Samsonov's already doing that every game.
Yeah, but you just can't do it.
You can't because
Like,
there's the chance he goes in and gives up 6.
We make fun of Keefe for being the tinkerer for Tinkerbell. You imagine the conversation in this city?
Go to a guy. How many NHL games has Wool played? I think the answer, you don't need to look it up. It's like 12. 12 to 15.
Regardless of the number.
It's 12, was 15 or 17 or whatever.
Remember when he got in for game 1 against Tampa?
Yeah.
And that guy just came in and just shoot it through his chest?
Yeah.
On the breakaway?
I mean, it's breakaways or whatever, but it was like,
maybe not him either. Yeah. So,
we're not ready for that yet.
It's just something that we haven't really looked at much.
I forgot about that clip.
Does Sheldon Keefe ever take a timeout after a string of bad play? I think
No.
I think that some of these bad games could have been put in check with a timeout, calming everyone down and reminding what they're supposed to be doing.
I'll hear it, and I like it as an observation, but not for last game. 2-1, you get the intermission anyway.
Yeah.
And the first one, like, how panic would it be? You give up one right away. Yeah, they got one on us. Like it just would seem.
I would have heard it after the third. It happened so fast, and that building was just in such shock.
Yeah.
What's the procedure?
Yeah, I think that's the problem. So when things are going, that was actually the most visibly mad Sheldon has been without being like the beat red yelling mad. Like just at the turnovers, he was just like, no, but at the refs, at his own guys. So he's trying to keep it in.
Why keep it in?
At your own guys. So he's yelling
It's time.
at Matthews. You gonna go yell at Matthews?
Go full Maurice. Has he ever done that?
On his guys? No. They've really protected those guys.
It would be refreshing when you're losing one of these massive hockey games to see him go full Maurice.
Game 2, middle of the game.
Not last night.
Yeah.
But there's been times where they could have used it.
For sure.
He never does it.
Yeah.
Ever. But boy, he
every time he does say anything, Kip comes in here and he talks about, you're not gonna like that. Matthews is gonna be in LA and Marner's gonna move to Mexico.
He
and
leans on the refs.
He does.
He's
takes
Nick,
out his frustration.
He's Nick Nurse-esque.
Yeah.
He leans on him pretty good.
And if he ever gets them to come over and talk to him, he does the face where he thinks that they're just the stupidest people in the world.
He's got that. Yeah, I hate that face he does.
I
know you nailed it.
What are you?
Yeah.
If you're the ref, you're I can't wait to call another one on you.
Have you ever refed a hockey game before, Pella?
Yeah.
Great show. This is always a good way to get your text read. This is a great show. Don't know why, but I am not in panic mode yet. Lose Sunday.
I feel that.
Then the pain and hurt will start. Just don't see the Leafs losing 3 in a row. That's from Roger in the 905.
Yeah, just move on.
The most dramatic way I can phrase this is that I'm not nervous at all. But if they lose the next game, they're not going to win the series.
Yeah, I
guess that's a confidence that
it's
they're
either
going to win
they're
the
in
next
it,
game.
they're in it, or it's over.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and to be honest, when you're sincerely the better team, even at 3-0, it's not over. When you're the underdog and you're down 3-0, night. The better team's going to play better and get one on you over 4 games. You can string it together when you're genuinely the better team, as I believe the Leafs are here. But
you just have to play against the Bruins down 3-0. Then they'll maybe
the choking Bruins, those dogs.
I do. If they get the they obviously just coming back from 3-1 is different than 3-0. Clearly, like if you get the first one in Florida, you lose the next one, go 3-1. It's still a series.
Home, yeah,
still a series. But you lose the first one in Florida, it's over.
It's funny how that works, right?
Right?
Come back
It's
3-1
all
or come back
perceptions.
3-1, and it does feel very different.
Yeah, it's all perception.
But it's impossible to believe there's a world where Florida beats them 4 straight times.
Okay, let me ask you this. This is from Chris and Aurelia. This may be one for not with 5 minutes left of the show. How do we really feel about Mitch Marner? He has the most points, but he never seems to be a game breaker. Chris and Aurelia.
For a guy that, Kyper talks about being better than Matthews and the engine and all that, gets an awful lot of passes.
Yeah.
In this, you're making $11 million compared to Kachuk and other sort of drivers of the play. I'll say, I think he narratively has been helped out by, he had 6 points in the 7-3, 7-2 games. 2 shots went through Vasilevsky, kind of those games where whatever. And since then is not really, we're at the point in the postseason with him where it's like, I thought last night he was
dynamic in the first
so
period.
good. He controlled the play. He attacked the net. He made that pass to O'Reilly. He shot the puck. I actually thought Marner was really good last night. And so if he's that guy, that's worth the money. And you can convince me he's a playoff guy, but it's been underwhelming for the past 6 games.
Fair. I think that's fair. You're looking at me like it's not fair.
I want to know what your take is on how do we really feel about Mitch Marner? I'm a guy who does analysis. I'm not a fan.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
It's complicated. I think you would, for a guy that has 12 points so far, you would like more. But it's hard to ask for more when the production's there.
Yeah.
But I'm sure behind closed doors, actually, they probably don't say anything to him because they just don't want to hurt his feelings.
Right.
But like, I'm sure Keefe would
like a little more.
If you gave him the true serum and him and Dubas were sitting around having a pizza and a beer.
Yeah.
They might be like, we need a little bit more from Mitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, sure. I mean, if you want to talk about him in a class of the guys like Braden Point, who, really, really effective and good all the time and game impactful top guys. One thing we do in this sport as fans and doing analysis, we say, he's a top 5 player in the league. And you go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who's the 5? And you start counting it out. Shocking how many players.
Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, Nick Cousins. That's the first 3 in the best players in the league.
Yeah, apparently. But it's shocking, like, when you really actually write it down and you go, oh, Cale Makar, Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Austin Matthews. You start doing whatever your version of that is, and you go, oh, he's actually the 17th best player. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would say it's a complicated relationship in this city with him based on contract, output, playoff performance.
Did you see the hit he threw last night?
Yes, he absolutely mucked someone.
And they
Who
didn't
was
even,
that?
like,
That's an M, by the way.
I know. It was a mucking hard hit.
Yes.
But they didn't, I love the broadcast. We had so good, CC and Craig Simpson.
The camera had turned, right?
But they didn't go back to it.
No replay, yeah. That's his hardest hit he's thrown as a Leaf.
It was a really hard hit.
Do you remember who was on?
Was it
Duclair,
Mahura?
maybe? Mahura?
It was on the defenseman.
It was Mahura.
It was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Can we get a replay on that?
And also, Morgan Riley's 2 biggest hits as a Maple Leaf.
Oh my God, he's
in
rocking
the
guys.
series.
He's giving me Brian Campbell vibes.
Yeah,
Just catching guys
Duclair
they're
got
not expecting.
crushed.
Yeah, I've really loved the hits they're throwing.
Luke Shen, by the way, just another shout out. 5 shot attempts, 3 on net, an assist, a part of the most important pair. Every time he touches the puck, I'm like, oh, thank God it's Shen.
And which is an insane sentence.
I know.
He's going to get money in the offseason.
Think so?
Yeah. I think he gets over $1 million for a couple years from somewhere.
Leafs?
I would really love it.
I know Vancouver fans they want him back.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And I would probably want him back. I mean, your team stinks.
The only thing only reason is it would really want him on the Leafs is that you got Morgan Riley at 7.5. He's played with this guy for 10 games. He's been the best he's ever been.
He's never played better.
Could you worry about the decline for Shen, but if you can get a version of this Shen, you mean Riley like this for a year or two.
He hit 13 is Reinhardt along the boards.
Yes.
And Reinhardt didn't fall, but
I know the exact
his
hit.
soul left his body. The look on his face, he's like, oh.
He was skating this way and instantly was moving the other way and was like,
He looks like no fun to play against Shen.
No kidding. All right, well, we're going into game 3. We're doing predictions as always. What do you got? Game 3.
The Leafs are going to win.
They are.
Yeah, they're going to win. I'm going to bet a lot of money on the Panthers, but the Leafs are going to win.
I think they tighten it up on D2, so give me a 4-1 Leafs victory on Sunday.
I'll go 3-1.
All right. Thank you very much to Mike Rupp and Justin Cuthbert, Brandeo, Sis, Sammy. Thanks for joining this side of the glass, and we will see you after this weekend, after Game 3, back with Nick Kypreos.
There's a few things